Today we have an Alfa Romeo convertible going into the tank. This thing's in pretty rough shape. It's probably the worst condition car that I've ever done. It was definitely stored outside for a very long time, and it was a real fear of mine that I was gonna get attacked by some squirrels because there's about 50 pounds of nuts in this thing and about 5 different animals that built nests in it. Fortunately, I didn't have to fight any squirrels, but I did have to fight some wasps because when I was going to tie this thing up, a whole bunch of wasps flew out at me and that was a mess. So I don't really like this car right now. I'm gonna go over it real quick with you guys and just show you how rough a shape it's in. I'm actually gonna pressure wash it before we put it in the tank to get all those acorns and nuts or whatever out. And also, they left a lot of stuff on this car. They didn't completely strip it down. There's the control arms and stuff are still on it. They have some chrome trim on it and everything, but that's how they wanted it dipped. I imagine they're gonna be replacing a ton of this stuff, so it probably doesn't really matter to them. But let's have a closer look at it and then I'm gonna pressure wash it. So up front here, you can see how rusty this thing actually is. There's really not a lot of paint on it. You can see a bunch of nuts in there. And they left all the lines and everything on it. It's probably only gonna take one time in the alkaline because there's barely any paint. There's not really a floor. And by the time this thing's done, there probably isn't gonna be a floor. You see all those leaves and stuff. They left the pedals in there. Come around to the back. Look at that. That's pretty rough. Come around here. Where the spare tire goes, pretty much doesn't exist. It's all rotted out back here. I imagine when I pressure wash some of this, there's gonna be some metal flying. You can see right here, that's pretty rough. Oh man, that is thin. All right, so I'm gonna pressure wash this thing real quick, see if I can flush any critters out here before we get it in the tank and get all those nuts and everything out. I'll make a video. If it's worth posting, I'll post it. I just finished pressure washing the Alfa Romeo after its first acid bath. It came a lot cleaner than I thought it was going to. This is probably one of the rustiest cars I've ever done. We actually didn't even neutralize it after pulling it out. It was so rusty, it's immediately gonna go back in the acid. I knew it wasn't gonna be done. It's been sitting here for like 10 minutes and you can see there's a little bit of flash forming, but that's not a problem when you have a big vat of acid. So we're gonna have a close look at this thing and then I'm gonna immediately get it back in the acid. This Alfa's looking a lot better than I thought it was going to. We ate through a ton of that rust. We spiked the acid a little bit, so that probably has something to do with it, but it looks way better than I thought it was going to. You can see. Still got a lot of work to do. There is still a lot of rust. There's a lot of rot. There's basically no floor. There's the Joker. But as you can see, we are chipping away at that rust. I'm gonna say this thing is gonna be done after this long weekend. It's gonna sit in over the weekend, so it'll have a lot of acid time. I'm gonna get this thing back in the acid, hopefully for its final dip, and maybe this thing will be finished. Well, the Alfa Romeo is all finished up. We got it down to bare metal. I bet you this thing's about 200 pounds lighter than when it came in here. Probably lost about 50 pounds of rust and probably 150 pounds of acorns and nuts. The paint was super easy. There was a little bit of Bondo, so it took another dip in the alkaline, but the rust was absolutely ridiculous on this thing. The floor is completely rotted out. I would not want to be restoring this thing. I wouldn't even know where to start. This thing is in pretty rough shape. We're gonna have a closer look at it so I can show you what we're working with. This thing definitely had to have been stored outside. It's in pretty rough shape and there was all kinds of stuff building nests inside of here. So the front end is probably the best part. It is in pretty solid shape still. Come inside here, you can see there's still a lot of good metal here. It is rotting through in a few spots and there's some very deep pitting. Some rot coming through in the frame there. Looks like it was crashed up front here. You can see that brazed seam and all that crinkled metal. Fender doesn't look too bad, but if you come down here, it's rotting through on the rockers. Take a closer look at the floor, or lack thereof. This is all gonna need replaced. You can see all this deep pitting, and it is in pretty rough shape. They left the pedals and stuff in there. There was a bunch of stuff just left on this car that's normally not. Rear quarters look pretty solid. We got some rot down below. Come around to the side. Really isn't a trunk at all. You can see that's completely rotted out. Come along to the other side. You can see this is all rotted out. This was all pretty bad. I honestly thought this was just gonna disappear, but it's still there. And here, you can see all that rot, and there was some lead there. But yeah, I wouldn't even know where to start on this thing. It is probably one of the worst condition cars we've got. This was kind of a fun car to do. It's nice seeing some that aren't in great condition. I know a lot of you were asking what are some of the worst cars we've done, and this is definitely in the top 5 probably. And you may have noticed when I was removing the paint on this thing, it looked a little weird. It was a little zoomed in. That's because I accidentally shot it in vertical. I was in a big rush. It was towards the end of the day, and I accidentally shot it in vertical when I was pressure washing that part. I hope it turns out after I edit this video, but we will see. I really appreciate you guys tuning in and watching this video. I wish I could get more videos out to you guys quicker, but if you stayed till the end on this video, you get a sneak peek at this 1970 Dodge Challenger that I'm about to put in the tank today. This one is gonna be a great series because I just did the hood of this thing, pulled it out and pressure washed it, and this blue metallic paint is just flying off. So this is gonna make for a great pressure washing video, and it's in pretty decent condition, so it shouldn't take too long. So this video should be coming up pretty soon. But I think there's 2 more cars that'll be showing up in your feed before the Challenger does, and that's a Porsche 914 and a Pontiac GTO, which those videos are gonna be great. So make sure you stay tuned for those. I appreciate every single one of you, and I'll see you at the next car.